Hello everyone, today I wanted to put some information out there for you that I think will help you out a lot in the game, whether you're stuck in the story, in the first couple of difficulties in the game, or maybe you've made it a little bit later into the game. You're kind of getting stuck doing some of the end game stuff like the Hell Tides and the Nightmare Dungeons and that sort of thing. You're just not really feeling powerful enough. So I got these 15 tips that you should be able to use in these situations to help get your character, your class, a lot more powerful and hopefully help you break through that wall. So the first piece of advice I'm gonna have for you is gonna be if you have not beaten the game the first time through yet, and that's what world tier you play. Because see, if you go to the world tier statue and you look at veteran difficulty, you're gonna see that it gives a couple bonuses. Enemies are more challenging, but monsters give 20% increased experience points and monsters drop 15% more gold. So a lot of you may be inclined to play on veteran difficulty first. If you're not doing it for the pure reason of you just want the game to be harder, don't do this. It's not worth it. Drop yourself down to adventure difficulty because you're only getting 20% increased experience from monsters, not from quests. And since in adventure difficulty, you can kill mobs a lot faster, you're gonna make up that 20% increase in experience anyways. Also, gold. You only get increased gold from monster drops. That's not where you get most of your gold. You get most of your gold from selling items. So you're not really getting that much of a gold benefit either. If anything, you're gonna make gold faster on adventure difficulty because there's no difference in the frequency or the quality of item drops at all. And if you're killing mobs faster, you're getting item drops faster that you can sell and get more gold. So first piece of advice, drop that difficulty down to adventure. The only time that you need to change this on your first playthrough of the game is when you do that capstone dungeon after you've defeated the story. At that point, you need to bump it up to veteran, and you have to beat capstone at veteran to be able to get nightmare difficulty. The next thing that you need to check is your build. This is referring to, really in this case, what I'm talking about is your skills. Because even though there are a lot of skills that have a lot of uses in the game, if you don't pick the right ones and match them up properly to other skills, you're gonna find that your character is not powerful and not capable of defeating some of these harder bosses and fights and different things and activities there are to do in the game. So one word I want you to think of and remember here is the word synergy. Synergy is the relation of different skills with each other and how they work together. So you want to make sure you have synergy in your build. You want to make sure you have damage dealing skills. You want to make sure that you have the ability to damage both single target enemies well, like elites and bosses, as well as the big group, the big mob, to take them out really quickly as well. You want to make sure you have a resource builder, something that gets you that resource that you use to spend your main skill abilities. And you want to make sure you have what I like to call a get out of jail free card. Something that's going to make it so if you get caught in a bad situation, you can stop incoming damage from happening, or you can get out of trouble, kind of reset yourself before you go back in. This is really important in boss fights and in just a lot of the general like harder content in the game. Also, although we'll touch on these a little bit later, you want to make sure you have synergy with your gear, if you're later in the game, with your Paragon board. And worst case scenario, if you're not really that sure of what you're doing when you look at these skills, do one of two things. Play around with like a build planner. Like you can go to a website like d4builds.gg and like there's a build planner there. You can start plugging in skills. You just kind of sit down and take a look and strategize about what your like game plan is going to be. Or if you don't feel confident enough in doing that, you don't have the time to do it, or you just don't want to do it, there are a lot of build guides for all the different classes online that you can pop on YouTube, do a search, or go to a website like Maxroll and look through there and find a build that somebody has already tested and proven to work well. You can copy that, and then you can deviate from there if you want to, but it would be a good place for you to start if you're really finding yourself stuck and like your skills just aren't working well for you. So the next thing that I'm going to advise you to do is you need to farm. And honestly, whenever you're stuck, farming is going to be the answer. Now, we'll talk about what you're going to be farming for and a couple of other tips that we go over in a little bit, but farming itself is one of the tips. And if you don't know what that means, it means going out to areas where you can get experience points and loot and just going through them for the sake of going through them. So if I open up my map here, we're gonna see a lot of things that we can farm. And I'm only gonna try to show off to you guys the things that you may have in world tier 1 or 2, although there are a lot of things to do in World Tiers 3 and 4 as well. So you're going to see on the map here, we have a dungeon. Dungeons are great for farming. For example, you see right here, we have 3 dungeons close by to this area. So what you may want to do is travel out to an area like Nevesk or anywhere else in the map for that matter, and go complete some dungeons that you have not yet completed. Because going inside of these dungeons or cellars are going to typically offer you a lot of mobs in a condensed area and offer you a lot of experience points from killing those mobs and a lot of rewards from completing the area. As you can see here, I'm going to go through, I'm going to wipe all these guys out right now, hopefully not die, like right here in front of you, because that can definitely happen. And you can see here as I'm using all my skills and abilities, they are synergized together really well, and I am making pretty quick work of all these dudes. And we completed that area really quick. And at the end of it, what do we get? We get ourselves a chest with the rewards. We got some experience points. We got some yellow drops, some sacred drops of that. I'll have to check those out and see if they're good for me. And this is a great way to go about things, but this isn't the only place that you can do it. Because as I come out of that cellar that I just did, there is a local event. These are great. I go to these pretty much every time I come across one. These will typically offer you a good density of mobs, plenty of elites, and at the end, you'll get yourself a really nice reward. And there we go. That one is complete. And in a short amount of time, I got a couple of extra rewards, which are great. And I got myself a lot of experience points. Now, that's just in the early game. Once you get to the end game, you'll have a lot more that you can do. You can farm the PvP zones. You can do the Tree of Whispers. Actually, once you finish the main campaign, but have not yet beat the capstone dungeon, great thing to do. Make sure you do the Tree of Whispers if you're trying to beat that capstone, if that's the spot you're stuck at. You can do nightmare dungeons. You can do strongholds. You can do Helltide events. There's a lot of things that you can do to farm in the game. There are farming tips and videos and guides out there on the most efficient ways to farm, but very generically, all of the ways to farm are pretty good as long as you're doing it. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is your gear. So you're going to be farming, but what are you farming for? Well, you're farming for gear because that's going to be probably the key thing that is holding you back. Now, this is going to have a couple different categories, but right now we're talking about gear generally. Because in that last clip, you saw me doing just a little bit of farming. And what was I farming for? I was farming for these amazing drops that I'm getting. So you're going to start getting gear dropping to you. And while I spent some time farming for the gear that I have here, it wasn't always like that. And I hit a wall too. And what did I do? I went and I farmed for gear. So once you do that, you're going to go ahead, you're going to take a look and you're going to compare the gear that you get dropped to the gear that you have and take whatever's better. So if it's armor, you're going to want a lot of armor rating on that gear to make it to where you don't get killed the second you get hit. And your most important item out of all your equipment is your weapon. Focus on getting a really, really, really good weapon. Find the best weapon you can possibly find. And we'll talk about aspects in a moment, but you're going to want to make sure you have aspects on everything that makes sense for your build. Also, look for gear that synergizes with your build. For example, my build that I use here, I focus a lot on critical strike damage and I focus a lot on vulnerable damage. So you'll see different pieces of gear I have stuff either focused around that or focused around other things that I find important for my character as well, such as shadow damage and other types of things for survivability. Make sure that your gear makes sense for you. Don't always go for that power level, that 603 versus 533 that you see on screen right now, because that doesn't tell the whole story. In the very early game, it might not matter as much. You can just by like a general sense use the more powerful like item power level item. But once you find that you're getting stuck, what you may need to do is start to pay more attention to the gear that you're getting and make sure that it has things that work along with the build that you're trying to go for. So another thing that goes along with your gear is an item, a currency called obols. Obols can be found from an activity we did just a few moments ago, which is local events. Now, once you are full on obols, and I recommend waiting until you're full, but once you're full, don't just sit there on a full stash of obols. Whenever you fill up, go spend them all. Spend every single one of them. And you're gonna do that at the Purveyor of Curiosities, because this is your place to spend those obols and potentially find yourself something that's going to replace a piece of your gear. Even if you've already got good gear, find your weakest piece and spend on that. That's my recommendation to you, because once you max out on obols, you're still going to find that you're getting them and you're just wasting them at that point. And you never know what kind of nice thing you can get from here. Because once you go and you gamble, and I'm going to do this right now actually with you guys, I could use a new pair of pants. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click on here or whatever button it is for your device. And I'm just going to keep going, and you're just gambling at what you get. Ooh, what do we get here? 2 ranks to Blood Mist. I use Blood Mist. It's not an important part of my build, not as much as the Corpse Explosion I have on the other one. And also, each time that Bone Storm damages an enemy, we are using Bone Storm, gain a barrier equal to 4% of your base life. That's not a bad aspect. We'll talk about those here in just a little bit. I'm going to save that one for later. But we're going to go and keep buying pants until we're all out of obols, and we find if there's anything it's going to be able to replace or be better than what we already have. And unfortunately for me, there wasn't. And that's fine, because I already got pretty decent pants as it is. I could use some new ones, but make sure you spend those obols. Another great tip is to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're enjoying these tips and tricks, I got more for you in the back half, but make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop me a comment down below and let me know what tips you are finding the most useful or what tips you have for others. And also make sure you follow me on Twitch so you can catch me live. Okay, this next one I just want to hop right into, because this is probably the most important part of building your character. And these are the aspects which have very special abilities, game-changing, skill-changing abilities for your character. And if you find the right ones, they are going to give you an immense amount of power. So where do you find these aspects? Well, there's a couple of different ways. You can actually find them by going into dungeons. And if I hover over one, for example, I can see that this has an aspect for barbarian only in it. And whenever you defeat a dungeon, you're going to have that drop into your collections area into the Codex of Power. As you can see, I have a few aspects already, not a ton, because I've been specifically targeting the aspects that I want for my character. Now, aspects will have a range of power that they'll have, and you can find them in 2 places, like I said, either by the dungeons through the Codex of Power, or they just randomly drop on items, or you get them via the obols like we did a moment ago, etc. So if I take a look at this, for example, you can see that when I have advanced tooltips turned on, the aspect, which is that orange text like towards the bottom, that's telling me what the aspect is. Each time that Bone Storm damages an enemy, gain a barrier equal to 4%, 2 to 5% of your base life for 10 seconds. That 2 to 5% is telling me the range in which that aspect can like give me that skill, basically. So if you find this aspect, sometimes it may be 2%, 3%, 4%, or 5%. But here's what's important to know. If you get it from the Codex of Power, it's always going to be that lowest of the range. So it's good as you can get it. You have infinite access to it. You could go and directly find what you want, but you're going to get the least powerful version of that aspect every single time that you equip it. Now, I want to give you a big tip here, a couple big tips here. First of all, you can show your class only. Now, don't always do this, because there's a lot of stuff that's generic and works for all classes, but it's a good place to start. Second of all, you can sort it: defense, offense, resource, utility, and mobility. So you have ways to filter what you're looking for, but you may not know this is you can click on something that you want. Let's say I want this one right here. I get it from Underroot and Skosglen. I can click on this. It says that it is pendant. So if I go to my map, you can see it's taking me all the way up here. This is where I need to go to get that particular aspect. Super easy way to find exactly what you need. I 100% recommend that you go through and find aspects good for your class and go unlock enough of them to fill up all of your gear. And then as you go through, fighting mobs, getting drops, farming, you're going to find more powerful aspects and even different aspects to what exists there, and then replace the ones that you've gotten through your Codex of Power as you go. Okay, these next 3 I'm going to kind of put together. It's going to be gems, blacksmith upgrades, and jeweler upgrades. They're all small, but when put together, they actually make a big difference. First, gems. As you can see, I have a lot of them. You're going to see them drop all the time, and you're going to keep all of them because that's just what you do. Half your inventory is going to be full of them, and there's nothing you can do about it. But as you get these gems, you will start out with kind of like the crude ones, and then you'll have chipped, and then you'll have like the regular ones, and there's higher ones, I believe, above this. I can't get them yet. I don't know. But these gems give you special abilities in your gear that has socketed slots. As you can see, I have a chest piece with a socketed slot right here that has 8% damage reduction while control impaired. I have a green one right here that gives me 9% critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies. Basically, as you hover over these gems, they will tell you the different effects that they have, and the more perfect of the type of gem that you have, the more of an effect that it gives, right? Now, to put a gem in one of your socketed items, you just click on the gem and you just click on the item piece, and that's it. It puts it in there. And to get better quality gems from your lower quality gems, all you gotta do is go to the jeweler, and she will give you a little list right here of all the gems you can upgrade. You give it a click. You can see I can make one of these. I can craft this from these, and it just gets me those higher quality gems. So always go through every so often. I do that. It is going to cost you some gold, so keep that in mind. If you don't have the gold on hand, you might not always want to do it. And as you saw, I did that without them even in my inventory. I don't know, that might be a bug, I don't know, but it lets you do it, so why not do it? Now, it is expensive to do, so I don't recommend you do this right now, but you can add sockets to an item. Now, I don't believe you get this material until a little bit later in the game, the crafting material required for this. So that's why I'm saying probably not worth doing it until you get more to like your end game gear. Just kind of like save this for now. You can unsocket an item. I could click on this and take this gem out of there, but that's going to cost me some money to do. Now, if you want to keep the item, that's fine. But if you don't, go to the blacksmith, click on salvage, and salvage that piece of gear that you want to get the gem out of if you don't want the gear anymore, and you'll get the gem from it. It does not salvage the gem. While we're here at the blacksmith, let's talk about blacksmith upgrades. You don't want to do this all the time necessarily, although you can do the first couple levels pretty cheap, like these gauntlets right here. I could throw these in, as you can see, 1,200 gold and some material that I have like 1 billion of. I can click on that and upgrade it. Here's another material I have a lot of. I can click on that and upgrade it again. But this upgrade does something specific for you. As you can see, it increases all of the stats on your gear. It's going to give me a little bit more armor. It's going to give me a little bit more shadow damage over time, and it's going to give me a little more strength. Now, my character, I don't really care about strength. The amount of shadow damage over time damage I'm getting is not a lot, and it doesn't have the ability to increase my sever just because that's not an increasable stat. So not worth it to do necessarily at higher levels. I could probably do one more and get away with it if I wanted to, but I don't want to use that material anymore. I'm not getting a big benefit from it, so I'm not going to do it. But once you get yourself some gear that you know you're going to be hanging on to for a while, like I did with my wand here, I upgraded that all the way up to level 5 because it gave me a lot of really nice benefits. This helmet right here, I'm probably going to have for a while and I haven't upgraded it yet. So if we take a look here, we get 3 intelligence, good. 5 more life on kill, good. More damage from picking up a blood orb, good. And the only thing not great on here is basic skill attack speed, because I don't use basic skills. But all the other stats on here, I get more armor. All of those things are good. So I'm going to upgrade. As you can see, I can get more now. I'm going to upgrade again. I get even more. Upgrade again. And I can upgrade to tier 4 here. And if I wanted to, I could upgrade to tier 5. Probably not worth it at this stage for pretty much anything except for like your weapon. But tier 4 is pretty good. So I think that's where we'll keep it. We got a nice boost out of this. Make sure you do this whenever you reach a point where you're stuck, or otherwise keep your gear updated as long as you know something that you're going to hang on to for a decent time or you're getting stuck. But hey, not only can you do that with your armor and your weapons, you can go to the jeweler, old Kracia here. You can upgrade your jewelry, which I've not done with any of my jewelry. So again, I'm going to pop it in here. I'm going to take a look and see what I get. Cooldown reduction. Okay. Damage reduction. That's pretty good. So I can get a little bit from this. Maybe I'll upgrade it a couple times. I'm not going to go too crazy with it because I'm not getting like a big increase out of it. And I'm just going to go through and do this with my other rings here. And yeah, it's going to help me be a lot more powerful. Okay, this next one's a pretty big one, and it is your Renown. Your Renown is something that you earn as you just kind of play the game, but really a little bit more in like a completionist way, like going through and actually doing different things in the game. Here we are back in game, and I'm going to pull up my map, and you can see there is a Renown system. And for me on PC, I have to hit W to pull that up. Each region has Renown, and you can see down here at the bottom, Renown is just simply you exploring around and doing the different activities that the game has available to it. Now, the nice thing about Renown is you get different rewards as you find more of it or get more of it. And you don't actually have to complete 100% of everything to get the maximum amount of renown. Now, my advice to you, when you hit that like brick wall and you can't get through somewhere, do at least one thing. Make sure that you have at least this 3rd tier of renown. I don't have it everywhere yet, but as you can see, at the 1st tier of renown, you get a skill point. At the 2nd tier of renown, you get an extra potion capacity. And at the 3rd tier of renown, you get another skill point. Those skill points are going to matter a lot in the first like difficulty, getting up through that first capstone dungeon that you beat. This is going to help a ton. If you're getting stuck, do a little bit of exploring around, see the things that there are to do in each region, and do enough of them to get yourself some skill points and some potions unlocked. Now, speaking of potions, visit the alchemist in town. The alchemist actually has potion upgrades that, if you didn't pay attention in the beginning part of the campaign, you may not know about. Every so often at these different level increments, you can get upgrades to your potion, making it actually stronger or heal more for you. Also here, another tip is elixirs. This is one that I'm not really great at keeping up with myself, but if you go to craft elixirs here, or you actually find them throughout the game as well, is elixirs are something that you're going to get materials for as you go through the game. You can craft them up. You can click on the consumables tab in your inventory over here, and you can see these different elixirs sitting in here that give different effects. I'm not going to go over the effects. You can look through them and decide if they're good for you or not, but they last 30 minutes. They give you a 5% boost of experience, and they give you some type of offensive or defensive stat that you can use. And that little bit of extra, like in this case, 900 armor, that's not bad at all. It's like a whole extra piece of armor. I could put that on to help me defeat that part of the game I'm having trouble defeating, or at the very least, keep this going 100% of the time. Even if you're buying like some of the cheaper ones, like they're giving you a 5% experience boost, utilize that, because 5% is better than 0%. My next tip for you is just simply level up. Now, this is kind of a good tip and kind of not, because two things happen when you level up. When you level up, you get access to more skills and abilities, and you can find higher gear with more like important like stats for you. But also, as you level, in a weird way in Diablo 4, you kind of get weaker, because what happens is as you level, the mobs around you level up as well. They're always made to match what level that you're at. So maybe you do and get a whole bunch of really good gear at level 30, but next thing you know, you're level 42 or 45 and you're still using the same gear. So while you've gained 15 levels, you're using 15 level old gear and you've become weaker along the way. On the flip side, there are certain activities that are level capped, such as the capstone dungeon is a level 50 dungeon. So if you're level 40, the mobs are level 50. If you're level 60, the mobs are level 50. So leveling can and will help you out. It'll give you access to more things. You can find better gear, but you just need to make sure that you find that gear. And another one I have for you is team up. Yes, find somebody to play with. If you don't have anybody to play with, we have a community here. Join the Discord channel. You can join our clan if you would like to. We have a lot of people you can team up with, partner up with, ask for help, ask questions, and just in general, talk Diablo with. But the point here is that if you team up with other people, it actually makes the game easier. This game has a bias kind of towards grouping up. You get an XP bonus. The mobs don't scale up equally with the number of players that are there. So in general, they end up being a little bit easier to kill, and it's going to just be easier to get through these harder encounters. You're going to level up faster as well. And when you do happen to die, you're not all the way dead. The dungeon, the instance, the boss fight you're doing doesn't reset. You lay as a little ghost there on the ground and your friends can come peel you up and put you back into battle. So there's a lot of benefits to teaming up. Also, if you have somebody you play with regularly, talk about what skills each other has, because there is a ton of synergy between different classes, and something that one class does good, another class can exploit and benefit off of even more. So there's a lot of really cool ways that you can use teaming up with your friends or clanmates or whatever to really take advantage of getting through the game. Oh, and also I forgot this one. More loot's dropping, so you can share like most of the loot. You can't share like the orange legendary stuff, but pretty much anything that's yellow I think can be shared. So your buddy may find a piece of gear that's like perfect for you. So maybe they can give it to you. The last one is really something that's going to be a little bit more in game. This is after you've defeated the first act, probably, or the last act, or at the very least, it's going to be once you hit level 50. And that is your Paragon board. We have our Paragon board right here. We have started it. I've not got very deep into it. We're working on it. It's work in progress. But your Paragon board can be the source of immense power. I have a good video explaining the Paragon board, so I'm not going to do that here. But what I am going to tell you is, as you get into the later levels, it is extremely important. Very, very important. So go check out my video on the Paragon board explaining what it is and how to use it. There's other great videos out there as well that explain glyphs and like all sorts of different things. A lot of build guides will include what to do with your Paragon board as well. So after level 50, pay attention to it. It's important. Don't just throw points at it and think that it's going to do something for you, because you can actually extract a lot of power out of it. And that's it. That's 15 tips. Hopefully using these things will help you get out of the bind that you find yourself in at any point throughout the game. We will have chapters in this, so if you want to go back through and click on the tips that are most important to you, bookmark them, save the video, whatever, they're here for you always. If you happen to like the video, show it by clicking the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment down below. Do you have any tips for like new players that like things they can do when they get stuck? Drop some tips, or let me know that these tips helped you out, or let me know what your favorite one was. The comments, they help the video out and getting discovered. If you're looking for a good community to hang out with, people that'll help you out, you want to catch me on stream and ask me a question, that's fine too. Just make sure you subscribe here on YouTube. You follow me over on Twitch. You join the Discord channel, become part of the community, and join the clan. And I guess that's all we have for today. So I thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in Sanctuary.